double monologues, double book reviews, double recipes, double the fun. Are you saying double? Stick around!
Welcome to Business Edge Radio, the show that gives you tips, tricks, tools, and techniques about how to build a more profitable business, while at the same time creating your perfect lifestyle. It's a show about working less and living more. A few golden nuggets, a little bit of wisdom, and over 35 years of business experience to help you keep your edge. Lifestyle entrepreneur, best-selling author, internationally renowned business speaker, and daddy of three, Mitche Graff brings the heat with actionable techniques for building the business and lifestyle of your dreams. Now your host, Mitche Graff.
Hey there, Unleashed Tribe, and welcome to a double edition of Business Edge Radio, the ultimate brainstorming session for your business and your life. I'm your doubly excited host, Mitche Graff, and on today's show, we have double of everything. Double monologues, one on how to identify opportunities that appear in your life, and a second one on tips to working from home without losing your productivity. I share with you two fabulous book reviews, and I hope you save some of that appetite of yours because we're going to be giving you a double dose of recipes. How to make the world's best ever scrambled eggs, and the second one on homemade graham crackers. Please be careful not to combine these two recipes, okay? Double the fun, double the trouble, and double the ideas that you can put into action today. Here's the question I want to start the show with. Would it be a good idea right now to start a new business or launch a new product idea in the middle of a pandemic while tens of thousands of businesses are shutting their doors for good, forever? Who in their right mind would ever consider risking their money and time on something that all odds say won't make it a year? What kind of crazy person would do such a thing? There's no way that you're going to be successful with your venture, so go sit in your corner until this whole thing passes and everything will go back to normal. You crazy person, you. Okay, that was negative, Mitch. I'm not sure how we got into the studio. I'm sorry for that. Will someone please lock the door? I'm doing a show here. My apologies. Let's try this again. Starting a business anytime is a stressful and nerve-wracking adventure, that's for sure. But does that mean that you shouldn't be considering starting something new because of the current economic conditions? In one word, no. In two words, absolutely no. There's another word that exists in the world that many people don't see very often. Or should I say, they're not trained to see. It's a word that gives us hope, gives us encouragement, and gives us excitement that we can make the world a better place to live. That word is opportunity. It's what we look for when it comes to our kids, looking for opportunities to get them involved with extracurricular activities, the opportunity to be exposed to new and mind-opening adventures, the opportunity to teach them one of life's lessons, the easy ones and the difficult ones. In fact, whether you realize it or not, opportunity has played a gigantic role in the person that you are today. Let's think about this just a minute. Maybe you were given the opportunity to attend college on a scholarship and you took it. Maybe you were offered that really great job that meant more money and benefits, and you took it. Or possibly found that house of your dreams that just came on the market, and you took advantage of the opportunity and swept it up. Sometimes opportunity is disguised as adversity. Maybe you just lost your job this year, but it gave you the opportunity to start a new diet and exercise program. Or because you lost your job, you now have the time to invest into building that side hustle that you've wanted to do for many years, but just didn't have the time. Or maybe you turned down a job that you thought was perfect at the time, but the timing wasn't right, only to have another position open up that was actually even more perfect for you. You never know when opportunity comes a-knocking on your door, but one thing I can tell you is this: the ability to identify potential opportunities, evaluate them based on our lifestyle choices and goals, and then make decisions on what we feel is best to help us attain those lifestyle choices and goals is a skill set that takes time to develop, but will pay dividends for the rest of your life. Now, I realize that there are opportunities that present themselves all the time, but how do you know which ones to take advantage of and which ones to pass on? That's a really good question. Here's an opportunity that has presented itself to me that I am currently considering and taking a very good, hard look at. How many of you would be interested right now in purchasing a movie theater. Yes, I said movie theater. For many years, theaters have been under immense pressure from the online streaming services like Hulu, Vudu, Netflix, Disney, even YouTube, and Hollywood has seen the huge revenues for blockbuster movies harder and harder to come by. Many theaters have closed their doors for good, and the ones that are open are operating at a severely reduced capacity. Many states have health restrictions in place that prevent theaters from packing their showrooms on a Friday or Saturday night, and many people are hesitant about being in an indoor space for an extended period of time with complete strangers. Totally understandable. So why would I even be thinking about this opportunity with all the doom and gloom in the movie industry? Let me paint you a picture as to how I see the situation so you can see it the same way that I see it. I don't always follow the rules. In fact, I'm adverse to being a typical lemming who does what everyone else expects. I like coloring outside the lines from time to time. One of my favorite activities to do since I was a kid is to go to the movies. Grab a 10-gallon tub full of extra buttered popcorn and an overpriced drink, and sit towards the front so my body vibrates from every explosion and action-packed scene. Laughing with my family or friends, enjoying each other's company, having a bite to eat, and it has nothing to do with what movie is being shown. It's an experience that I savor and treasure regardless of what movie's up on the screen. You probably have some memories as well about going to the movies. Now, if I took that experience that I just shared with you and added the following elements, like a full menu to choose from, like gourmet burgers, fresh salads, artisan wraps, a full list of appetizers, and a vast selection of microbrews and local wines. Plus, you have a table right in front of you that you can set your food and beverage on, and a concierge that brings your food when it's ready. And instead of just showing movies, what if you could also see some dinner theater or a play? Live comedians, music concerts, town halls, attend church services, awards banquets for the local chamber or civic groups. What about watching the championship games on the big screen? That sounds pretty cool, huh? And it wouldn't be a theater where you could only see the new releases. It would be a place where you can go to see movies that are a little older, classics from the past, and movies that take you back to a simpler time. And the price of a ticket? $5. There's many more bells and whistles that make this opportunity one worth considering very seriously. The one thing I know above everything else is this. One day, in the not-so-distant future, we will be getting back to our lives. We will be going back to our restaurants and enjoying a good time with our friends, to the football games on Friday and Saturdays, to concerts to see our favorite bands, and we will return to the theaters. Not because of the movie that's being played necessarily, but because of the experience that comes with that movie ticket. Some people see a glass that is half full like you and I, and they see it as a glass that's half empty. Like I said before, I tend to color outside the lines from time to time, and this is an opportunity that's a perfect example of not staying within those lines. I have an exercise that my mom taught me way back when I was younger, and I still use it to this day when I make important decisions, and in fact, all my kids even use it. I call it the T-bone exercise. It's pretty simple. You grab a blank piece of paper and draw a big, huge letter T that fills up the entire page, and on the left side will be your pros. On the right side will be the cons. It's a brainstorming session that I think really helps you visualize the good and the bad for any important decision that you need to make, and will help you clarify which path to take. Opportunities are everywhere in our lives. Sometimes they're obvious, sometimes they are buried. But I challenge you to start looking for them in new and different ways. It's been said that some people are just lucky by nature, and I say that's not why. The people in life that seem to always be lucky are the ones that work their butts off and puts them in a position of being able to take advantage of opportunities that may present themselves. I believe that each of us makes our own luck by staying in touch with our ultimate lifestyle goals and by paying attention to the world that's around us. Today, I want you to take an intentional look for an opportunity that will enhance your personal life, make your business better, or make the life of someone you care about more fulfilling. It may be located anywhere. You just need to be looking for it. So am I going to take advantage of my opportunity to buy a movie theater? Stay tuned for a future episode. Hello, Unleashed Tribe. I am so honored to have you as a loyal listener, and I'm very excited to tell you about the Business Edge Radio app, now available on Apple and Android devices. You can catch up on past episodes, Watch short videos of the Business Edge Minute, our 60-second show that gives you quick and easy tips on building a better business and living a better life. And you'll get access to bonus materials that are only available on the app. In fact, I have a nice little PDF bonus waiting for you there right now. Plus, you can email the show, call the show, connect with us on social, check out our website, and even make a nice fluffy omelet. No, you can't really do that. Just go to the iTunes Store or Google Play Store, and you can download the Business Edge Radio app so you can be one of the cool kids on your block. Business Edge Radio, the ultimate brainstorming session for your business and life. Now available in the App Store. Download it today. And if you don't, I'll come visit you on your day off. Fans of Business Edge Radio, I have a very special treat for you. As you know, I love barbecuing and making up any excuse to get myself outdoors. And that's why I'm so excited to partner with BBQ Nation. They make incredible sauces and rubs and spices and meat shredders and grill scrapers and lots more. And they're offering a deal for our listeners. Check out bbqnation.net, and when you place an order for any of their products, you'll receive a 20% discount off your order when you enter the word EDGE at checkout. Looking for a magnet that lists your cooking temperatures or different types of smoking woods? They got that. Need a heavy-duty set of meat shredders for your pulled pork or shredded chicken sliders? They got that too. Or my favorite is their Magic Dust Everything Rub that will spice up just about any dish. Log on to bbqnation.net. That's bbqnation.net today, and when you enter the code EDGE at checkout, you'll receive a 20% discount just because you hang out with us on the show. BBQ Nation, get your grill on. The global spread of COVID-19 has forced many companies to shut down their offices and send employees home to conduct their duties. What used to be a world of cubicles and open spaces with millions of employees working has been replaced with a kitchen table, kids running around the house, and the dog wanting to go outside. Where it's possible, employers are encouraging or requiring people to work from home for an indeterminate amount of time. If you're new to the work-from-home lifestyle, whether due to coronavirus or because you've managed to find a remote-based job, you'll need to change some of your habits and routines to make working from home a success for you and your employer. A variety of surveys that are floating around right now suggest that between 40 and 60% of all home-based employees are suffering from a serious reduction in productivity, meaning that they haven't made the transition from the office to the kitchen table yet. Doesn't matter whether you are the owner of a company or an employee who draws a paycheck, the challenges are the same. I've spoken to many people who are now home-based and that they're having the time of their lives because they get to work from home. If you dig deeper, it's because now they get to see their kids real quick, or catch the news real quick, or water their plants real quick. Well, those real quick side activities are being done on the company dollar, which explains why productivity is so far down. Having been my own boss for most of the last 30 years, I've not had to show up to an office to get my work done, and I've had many friends and colleagues that have done the same. We all face unique challenges, not only because we have different personalities, but also due to our various lifestyles and the type of work we do. Everyone who works remotely has to figure out when to work, where to work, and how to create boundaries between work and personal life. What about office equipment, career development, training opportunities, or building relationships with colleagues? Working remotely, especially when working from home most of the time, means figuring out these issues and others. Well, here's 20 tips for leading a better and more productive remote working life from our friends over at PC Magazine. Number 1, maintain regular hours. Set a schedule and stick to it. Most of the time, having clear guidelines for when to work and when to call it a day help many remote workers maintain that proper work-life balance. That said, one of the benefits of remote work is flexibility, and sometimes you need to extend your day or start early to accommodate someone else's time zones. Automatic time tracking apps such as Rescue Time let you check into whether you're sticking to your schedule. They also can help you figure out what times of the day you're most productive versus when you slack off. You can use this information to your advantage by reserving your hours of high focus for your most important tasks, your high value activities. Number 2, create a morning routine. Deciding you'll sit down at your desk and start work at a certain time is one thing. Creating a routine that guides you into that chair is a completely different one. What in your morning routine indicates that you're about ready to start work? It might be making a cup of coffee and taking the time to actually savor it before you start looking at your to-do list. It might be returning home from a jog It might be getting dressed, wearing pajama pants, which many people do nowadays. You never know it when you're on a Zoom meeting, right? A routine can be more powerful than a clock that helps you get started each day. I say morning, your hours might be at a different time of day. Number 3, set ground rules with the people in your space. If you have children that are home from school now or come home from school in the afternoon while you're still working, they need clear rules about what they can and cannot do during that time. Additionally, just because you're home and can let service people into the house and take care of pets doesn't mean other family members should assume you will always do that. If that's how you choose to divide up your domestic labor, that's fine. But if you simply take it all on by default because you're home, you may feel taken advantage of and your productivity will suffer. I have a light on the outside of my home office that signifies that I'm not to be disturbed at all unless there's a fire in the house and the house is burning down. This works 95% of the time, which keeps me on task. Number 4, schedule breaks. Know your company's policies on break times and take them. If you're self-employed, give yourself adequate time during the day to walk away from the computer screen and the phone and your desk. A lunch hour and 2 15-minute breaks seems to be the standard in the United States, and it gives your mind a chance to refresh, re-energize, and get ready for the next segment of work. Don't shortchange yourself during breaks, especially your lunch hour. You can use apps like Time Out for Mac or Smart Break for Windows to lock yourself out of your computer for 60 minutes. Or you can just launch a simple clock or timer on the screen when you take a break. If you return to your desk after, let's say, only 40 minutes, walk away for another 20. Don't shortchange yourself. Number 6, leave home. To the extent that it's allowed and safe where you are during the COVID-19 outbreak, get out of the house, provided you maintain social distancing, of course. The same advice applies to people who work in traditional office settings too. Leave the building at least once a day. Your body needs to move. Plus, the fresh air and the natural light will do you some good. You don't have to go to crowded public spaces to get away from your solo workspace, and you probably shouldn't do it right now anyway. Take a walk, weed the garden, throw balls for the dog. You get the picture. Number 7, don't hesitate to ask for what you need. If you're employed by a company or organization that supports your work-from-home setup, request the equipment you need as soon as you start working from home, or within a day or two when you realize you need something. It's extremely important to set precedents early that you will ask for what you need to get the job done comfortably, including the right monitor, keyboard, mouse, chair, printer, software, and so forth. Organizations that are accustomed to remote employees often have a budget for home office equipment. Ask what it is and how often it's renewed. And it doesn't hurt to ask for whether there's a loan agreement or who will pay for the return shipping or disposal of outdated equipment. Number 8, keep a dedicated office space. In an ideal world, remote employees would have not only dedicated office space, but 2 computers, one for work and one for personal use. It's more secure for the employer, and it lets you do all your work activities in private. But not everyone has a separate office in their home, and keeping 2 machines isn't always realistic. Instead, dedicate a desk or some peripherals only for work use. For example, when your laptop is hooked up to your monitor or external keyboard, it's work time. When it's on your lap, it's personal time. You may want to go as far as partitioning your hard drive and creating a separate user account for work. Number 9, maintain a separate phone number. Set up a phone number that you only use for calls with colleagues and clients. It doesn't have to be a landline or a second mobile phone or even a SIM card. It can be a free VoIP service such as Google Voice or Skype. Similar to some other tips, having a separate phone number helps you manage this work-life balance. Number 10, use a VPN. That includes Wi-Fi at co-working spaces, cafes, libraries, and airports. Some organizations have their own VPNs that offsite employees need to access certain servers or websites that store information meant only for internal use. In those cases, you'll also need to use a VPN at home. In any case, it's a good idea to get into the habit of leaving your VPN connected as often as possible because it's always safer to have it on than not. One more point about VPNs. Remember, when you're connected to them, your company could conceivably see what you're doing. So make sure you are only doing work on your corporate VPN. Number 11, socialize with colleagues. Loneliness, disconnect, and isolation are common problems in remote work life, especially for extroverts. Companies with the remote work culture usually offer ways to socialize. For example, They might have chat channels where remote employees can talk about common interests, meetups for people in the same region, and once the coronavirus ends, in-person retreats. It's important to figure out how much interaction you need to feel connected and included. Even if you're a highly introverted person and don't like socializing, give a few interactive experiences a try so that you're familiar with them if you ever decide that you want them. If you're not at a company with a strong remote culture, you may need to be more proactive about nurturing those relationships. Number 12, show up to meetings and be heard. Certainly, you'll take part in video conferences and conference calls, but it's a good idea to attend optional meetings sometimes as well. Be sure to speak up during the meetings so everyone knows you're on the call. And a simple, "Thank you everyone, goodbye," at the end of the meeting will go a long way towards making your presence known and felt. Number 13, get FaceTime. If your employer is lax about getting you in a room with other employees, ask to have an annual or semi-annual trip in your contract. It could be for annual planning, for training, for team building, or tack it on to some other business event such as a yearly fiscal meeting, a nearby conference, or an office holiday party. Don't wait around for someone to invite you to the office or to an event. Be proactive. Number 14, take sick days. When you're not well, take the sick time you need. If sick days are part of your compensation package, take the time off that you need to get better. Not taking it is like throwing away money. If you're a freelancer who doesn't have paid sick days, it can be very easy to fall into the opposite time is money trap and try to power through illnesses. Keep in mind that sometimes it's best to rest and get better so that you can be more productive in the long term. Number 15, when you're not in the office with your fellow employees, you might miss out on training and skills development courses that are taught in person. Your company might even forget to add you to its online training courses. It can be tempting to regard this as a dodged bullet, but you might be missing out on an opportunity to learn something useful. Speak up and make sure you're included. In addition to top-down training, you can request online or in-person courses, training, and coaching if you need it. For people who work remotely 100% of the time, look for learning opportunities that are taught at the company's headquarters or your closest office. That way, you get training and FaceTime with colleagues. Number 16, over-communicate. Working remotely requires you to really over-communicate. Tell everyone who needs to know about your schedule and availability often. When you finish a project or important task, say so. Over-communicating doesn't necessarily mean that you have to write a 5-paragraph essay to explain your every move, but it does mean repeating yourself from time to time. Number 17, I like succinct and clear messages, but I know that the less FaceTime I have with people, the less they know how to interpret my tone in my writing. When you work remotely full-time, you must be positive to the point where it may feel like you're being overly positive. Otherwise, you risk sounding a little bit rude. It's unfortunate, but it's true. So embrace the exclamation point. Find your favorite emoji. You're going to need them. Number 18, don't be too hard on yourself. The most successful remote employees have a reputation for being extremely disciplined. After all, it takes serious focus to do any full-time office job from an unconventional space. That said, everyone lets their attention drift sometimes. If you find yourself working one minute and booking flights for your vacation the next, don't reprimand yourself or be too hard on yourself. Instead, ask yourself whether people in the office setting are doing the same thing. If the answer is yes, cut yourself a little slack, then get back to work. Above all, remember, you need to balance productivity with self-care. Otherwise, you run the risk of burning out. Number 19, end your day with some sort of routine. Just as you should start your day with your routine, creating a habit that signals the close of the workday is very positive. It might be to sign off on the business messaging app, an evening walk with your dog, a 6 p.m. yoga class. Something as simple as shutting down your computer and turning on a favorite podcast will do. Hint, hint. Whatever you choose, do it consistently to mark the end of your working hours. And number 20, have fun and enjoy the ride. Whether or not you are cut out for the extra discipline that is required of you to make working from home a good thing, it's important that you set yourself up for success as much as possible and establish some boundaries that will help you stay focused. Above all else, figure out what works best for you. Sometimes the answer is apparent, but other times you might need some inspiration from other people who are in the same boat. So talk to coworkers, talk to friends, do some research on the internet, and find out ways that you can make your working from home adventure more enjoyable. If you know anything about me, you know that I love my early mornings, and I really love a good cup of fresh roasted coffee. There's nothing better than getting started before the rest of the world with a good cup of joe. That's why I'm so excited to have Mountain Creek Coffee as a partner. The process is so simple. You order, they roast, they ship, you enjoy. They don't roast your beans until an order is placed, which guarantees the absolute freshest coffee that you can get. Check out their artisan dark roast, medium roast, or decaf beans at mtncreekcoffee.com. And when you put in the code EDGE at checkout, you will receive 20% off your first order. I prefer the dark roast because of its full body and bold flavor. You order, they roast, they ship, you enjoy. Log on to mtncreekcoffee.com and enter the code EDGE at checkout, and you will receive a 20% discount off your first order. Pretty cool stuff. Mountain Creek Coffee and Business Edge Radio, a partnership brewed out of the love of coffee. See what I did right there? In today's business world, it's vitally important that you understand what I call the 7 pillars of business success, which are lifestyle design, time management, branding, sales, marketing, pricing, and social media. Regardless of what industry you're in, and whether you have a brick and mortar or are only online, having a solid foundation in these skill sets will set you up for success down the road. And to personally help you with your journey, I've written a book called The Business Basics Bootcamp, the ultimate crash course, now available on Amazon.com and from other fine bookstores. And it'll give you a 30,000-foot view on these topics and many more. It'll help you slow down just a little bit so that you can get your business house in order and get your creative juices a-flowing. Log on to Amazon.com today and get your copy of Business Basics Bootcamp, the ultimate crash course. You can search my name, Mitch Graff, or search the title of the book. In the dog-eat-dog world of business success, the weak will perish and the strong will survive. Which will you be? My first review today is on a book called Opportunity. How to Win in Business and Create a Life You Love by Eben Pagan. Well-known entrepreneur, teacher, and technology investor Eben Pagan has spent literally thousands of hours studying opportunity. After interviewing hundreds of successful entrepreneurs, self-made millionaires, and billionaires, he found that successful people have something in common. They are better at finding and creating opportunities for themselves, and they're better at choosing which opportunities to bet on. This book shows you how they do it, giving you the tools to find and create a lot more opportunity in your work, in your business, with money, and in your life. In today's world, we have more options than ever to travel to new places, meet new people, start new businesses, make new investments. But with this increase comes opportunity shock and the confusion that comes from having almost too many options. You will learn what opportunity is, how it works, and where to find it, how entrepreneurs and investors are turning big change into big opportunity, how to discover and develop more great opportunities in business, money, investing, health, happiness, relationships, and personal development, how to overcome fear of failure so you can have more of what you want in your life, how to become an innovator and thought leader, helping others to find their opportunities. As someone who is consistently on the hunt for new and different opportunities myself, I devoured this book over a weekend when it came out a couple years ago, and I came out of it with several great ideas. My biggest takeaway? The biggest opportunity that each of us has is to be alive. We should want to pass on that gift of living life to as many people as we can touch. Opportunities will come and go, but letting yourself be available and sensitive right now is important. Those are the ones that make our life and the lives of the people who mean the most to us more enjoyable. All right, second book is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad: What the Rich Teach Their Kids About Money That the Poor and Middle Class Do Not by Robert Kiyosaki. Now this book's been around for about almost 25 years now. I've read it probably 4 times in my life, and I get something new out of it every single time. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is Robert's story of growing up with 2 dads, his real father and the father of his best friend, his rich dad, and the ways in which both men shaped his thoughts about money and investing. The book explodes the myth that you need to earn a high income to be rich, and explains the difference between working for money and having your money work for you. In the 20th anniversary edition of this classic, Robert offers an update on what we've seen over the past 20 years related to money, investing, and the global economy. Sidebars throughout the book will take readers fast forward from 1997 to today, as Robert assesses how the principles taught by his rich dad have stood the test of time. In many ways, the messages of Rich Dad, Poor Dad that were criticized and challenged 2 decades ago are more meaningful, relevant, and important today than they were 20 years ago. Robert is candid, insightful, and continues to rock more than a few boats in his retrospective. The book explodes the myth that you need to high and earn income to become rich. It challenges the belief that your house is an asset. It shows parents why they can't rely on the school system to teach their kids about money. It defines once and for all what an asset is and what is a liability. And it teaches what you want your kids to know about money for their future financial success. The lesson he illustrates with this example is that sometimes all it takes is just learning one more skill in many cases that will put you over the edge to becoming a big success. In the book, you will learn actual real-life experiences that you and I can relate with on a more personal level. After reading this book, your motivation to build wealth will not be a problem anymore, and your drive to apply the lessons taught will be enough to launch you on a prosperous financial path. You can find these books, as well as many, many other fascinating reads at powermarketing101.com/hotlist. That's powermarketing101.com/hotlist. While side hustles start on the side, they don't always stay there. After all, the driving forces that inspire side gigging are many, from meeting an economic need or practicing a unique skill to testing a burning idea or exploring an individual passion. Each week, I will bring you examples of people who started a side hustle, and in every case, the side hustle became successful enough to scale into a full-blown business. Regardless of what inspires a hustler to start working on the side, with the right approach, what starts as a hustle could turn into a very lucrative career. Here's some side hustle examples from our friend Chris Guillebeau over at Side Hustle School. Professional magician Will Roya began performing magic gigs in college and then graduated to his own stage show in Las Vegas. But he has since replaced pulling rabbits from hats with pulling big sales from his own playing card e-commerce business. What is now home to over 1,500 card deck designs and other merchandise started when Roya was still performing magic. His first foray into sales came when he sold instructional DVDs after his magic shows. I knew there was a market for good instructional videos, Roya said. This was before the popularity of YouTube. But Roya's side hustle went through several transformations. What started with selling instructional DVDs for magicians expanded when he began selling his wares on eBay. And before long, his side hustle became his full-time gig. With only one full-time employee to handle the shipments and several freelancers to help, his site processes now more than 2,000 orders a month and generates in excess of $1 million a year in gross revenues. For prospective side hustlers seeking advice, he suggests finding something that can scale and make money in your sleep. Great customer service, he adds, is probably the biggest factor to his success. Make a plan and stick to it, he says. If you really want to be successful, I would say focus on one thing until the concept is proven, then expand. Next example is exploding kittens. I just want everyone to know that no animals or kittens were harmed in the making of this segment. Elon Lee has made a name for himself in the Kickstarter universe. He entered the workforce cleaning up after dogs at a pet store, went to work for Microsoft as a lead video game designer, and later helped create the 9th most funded Kickstarter campaign to date. Nearly 220,000 backers pledged over $8.7 million to breathe life into this project. He describes it as a card game for people who are into kittens and explosions and laser beams and sometimes goats. It was listed with a $10,000 funding goal. We hit that number in 7 minutes. We hit about $1 million in 2 hours. While many factors led Lee down the path to designing a card game, he said the most influential one came to him during a visit to his brother's house. He has 2 kids. I walk in the door, they're both in the living room playing a video game on the Xbox. When I walked in, neither one of them looked up to say hello. Here's the ironic part. They both were playing a video game that Lee helped create when he worked at Microsoft. They were in the room with me and each other. Their mom was in the room too, and none of them were talking to each other. It was like they were isolated and lonely in a room full of people, and it felt terrible. I needed to do something to bring people together and celebrate each other instead of staring at screens. But what is now Exploding Kittens started as Bomb Squad. Lee had a friend who also worked at Microsoft, came up with the idea for a mobile game based on Russian roulette. After building a paper prototype, Lee and his friend realized not only the game had legs, but that it would work better as a card game. So they both left Microsoft at the same time, determined to solve the problem of getting people away from screens. They decided to put their idea on Kickstarter while they looked for their next jobs. But sometime before that, a cartoonist and creator of the webcomic site The Oatmeal got involved. Inman drew the illustrations for the cards and suggested replacing bombs with the now iconic Exploding Kittens. Matt literally drew all the cards in about 2 weeks, and we put them on Kickstarter probably a week after that. Between the time the game was invented and the team was formed, it probably was up on Kickstarter for no more than 3 weeks. And they didn't have to spend a single cent. It took about an hour after launching the campaign for Lee to realize what was originally a side project had just become his new full-time job. Exploding Kittens hasn't stopped creating since, releasing other critically acclaimed games like Bears vs. Babies, You've Got Crabs, on a scale of 1 to T-Rex, Throw Burrito, in addition to expansion packs for the game that started it all. On a daily basis, they sell between 2,000 and 3,000 games. Lee says, it's so flattering and it's so incredible to think that this thing that we built really intended to be a small diversion because it brought us joy. Now it's bringing many people joy. What started out as a 3-man team working out of Lee's garage has scaled to a 25-person team working in a full-blown studio, selling somewhere close to 9 million games across all titles, including Exploding Kittens. And if that wasn't enough, Lee said the team rented the entire Portland Convention Center the next year for the first Burning Cat, a game-packed convention for attendees to play, learn, and connect with like-minded people. The only rule? No screens allowed. When you look closely at all your big ideas, your inventions, your passions, and you start to form a clear picture of what they might look like when they come together, you must also make room for another thought. You're never going to know if any of those ideas are worth anything unless you try to build them. And the actual barriers to getting started are much less scary in reality than the versions in our heads.
Here's my email address.
Just the email. We get your mail. Let's dive into Mitche's mailbag and answer some of your burning questions.
We have some wonderful questions today that have been coming into our email this week. Let's see what we have. First email comes from Allison in Buffalo, New York. She writes, Mitch, we've been enjoying your show on Saturdays and have been loving your 24/7 lifestyle idea. My son and I live together and currently have 2 full-time jobs out of the home, but would like to purchase a small bed and breakfast that is outside of town and split up the responsibilities of running it on a day-to-day basis. I've been thinking about how I can make my living working only 24 hours a week, 7 months a year, then not working the rest of the time. What I find is that even though I might not ever be able to get to that number, the concept keeps me wanting to find ways of working smarter. I will let you know how things go and if we decide to purchase the bed and breakfast. Well, Allison, thanks for the email. I appreciate the fact that you are trying to incorporate the 24/7 mentality into your own personal lifestyle. And just to remind people what this is about, the traditional definition of a 24/7 means 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, keeping your nose to the grindstone all the time, never letting up, forsaking all things in order to make your venture successful. And let me ask you a question, and it doesn't matter what you do for a living. If there was a way that you can get all your work done, whatever was required of you, working more efficiently with the laser beam focus by working 24 hours a week, 7 months a year, and the rest of the time you'd be free to do whatever you wanted to do, would that lifestyle be of interest to you? In my experience, everyone answers a big, fat, emphatic yes to that question. Here's a couple of thoughts on this subject, Allison. The 24/7 lifestyle is a philosophy more than it's something that you want to try to attain 100%. Just having that as your shining beacon on the hill is enough to improve the quality of your life. Even if you become more efficient with your daily duties and learn to eliminate your wasted motions, even if you can only free up an hour a day to do what you wanted, 5 hours a week, would that have the potential to revolutionize your entire life? You bet. If we all can simply learn to constantly analyze and evaluate what activities make up our days, we would find that there is actually quite a bit of excess energy that is expended that gives us very little or no return on our time investment. Typically, that percentage is around 80% of our activities brings us 20% of our results. So if you flip that around, 20% of our efforts brings us 80% of the results. We need to focus on getting rid of those near zero return activities. And that frees up time that we can reinvest into the top 20% of our activities that brings us the 80%. And if we can do that, the 24/7 lifestyle won't just be a beacon on the hill, but it will be your way of life. Allison, thanks for the thoughts and the update, and I look forward to hearing about what happens with that bed and breakfast. All right, this one is from Don and Mary in Houston, Texas. Don, D-A-W-N. Don and Mary in Houston, Texas. Mary writes, "Hi, Mitch. We've had a string of bad reviews online for our small deli, and many of our good customers have stopped coming. The complaints are that we are too slow with getting orders out and that they don't feel that we care that things are slow. We have tried everything to get the orders done quickly, but it seems no matter what we do, it's not good enough. How should we deal with all the negative reviews that we are getting?" Well, first of all, guys, I know it's difficult when something that you pour your heart and soul into starts to turn sour. It hurts, and it hurts bad. From a business standpoint, you are much better off having impeccable service and average products than you are having the worst service but the best products in the world. You're in a tough spot right now, and it's the reality that you're facing. You got two choices. First, you can simply do whatever you've been doing, and eventually you're going to go out of business. Or number two, you can take this problem by the horns and actually turn it into a positive. And here's how I would go about doing that. First of all, you need to reach out and make personal contact with each person who has left you a negative review. Find out exactly what they found so disappointing that they felt inclined to write the review. Listen to them. Hopefully this can be on a phone call. Listen to them intently. Take notes. Let them know that you appreciate everything that they're telling you and that you appreciate their business. Let them know that you're going to be making corrections to the way things are and would love it if they would give you another chance to make things right. I would offer them a gift certificate to come and enjoy a couple of meals on you. Ask that they give you a little time to work on the issues, then move on to the next one. Continue doing this until you've reached out to every single one of those people that left you something negative. Next, you need to take that list of grievances back to your office, sit down with your management team, or the two of you, and analyze each and every one of them. You're going to need to look at all your systems, your front of house, your back of house, everything, and I do mean everything, needs to be broken down and then rebuilt with fewer moving pieces so that things are more efficient and smoother. If they can run faster and smoother with less chance of error, good things will happen. From what you've stated, it sounds like a lot of your issues are rooted in the service that you're providing. All that customers want from you, Mary, besides a nice meal, is to be appreciated and respected. Even if they must wait a little bit longer for their food, it's on you to let them know that you are aware that it's an inconvenience to them. And in most cases, just acknowledging their feelings will be enough to buy you some more time and patience from impatient customers. I can remember countless times that I've went out to eat at a restaurant and had to wait for a table or wait for my food. But if the staff showed that they're fully aware of the extra time that it was taking and would make sure that they stayed in touch with me, bringing me baskets of chips and salsa or bread and cheese, that wait became a little more bearable. The times that the staff didn't communicate with me, those restaurants didn't get me back again. And this comes down to the training of your staff. They must, above all else, put your customers' needs ahead of everything else on their duties list. This applies to your cooks in the back, your preppers, your servers, your cashier. Everyone must have a sense of urgency about getting those orders out as fast as they can so that these types of issues don't continue to happen. And remember that your customers' perceptions are your reality. Whether or not you agree with what they say, the customer is always right, even when they're not, if that makes sense. And next, once you've rebuilt your systems and retrained your staff, I want you to make a point of soliciting feedback at all times. Having a feedback loop is something that all businesses need to have in place so that they can keep the thumb on the pulse of how things are going. Maybe put a comments box by the register with survey forms on the tables, and you can give a special little something for everyone who fills one out, maybe a free beverage or a piece of pie or a cookie. Spend time each week going over them, making sure to incorporate the suggestions that have relevance and that will also improve that customer experience. Over time, you will see a mindset shift in your customer base. I would also reach out again to every bad review, let them know that you've made some positive changes, invite them back to see you again. You might just be surprised that some of these bad reviews turn into some of your best customers if done correctly. Customers are always right, even when they're wrong. All right, next email is from Lisa from, I don't know where from. We'll call her from, I don't knowsville. Anyways, she writes, how do you determine what to charge for a product that is homemade or handmade? I bought a bunch of soap making materials at an auction and would like to go into business making soap. We have several farmers markets and shows in my local area where I could sell them. I also think I could sell them to several of my friends and family. Lisa, great question. And the equation is much easier than you are probably thinking. You don't need to complicate things too much here at the very beginning. First of all, you need to assign a cost to each of the ingredients that go into making a bar of soap, whatever those are. I'm sure you have a recipe of sorts that you're going to be using. If you don't know the replacement costs of the items you purchased at the auction, do some research online and find out the hard cost of every single ingredient, okay? Then you're going to make a batch. And let's say you end up with a dozen bars. You end up with 12 bars. Add everything up, including whatever your packaging is going to be, whether it be a box or a band or a shrink wrap. Add up all your costs for the entire batch, divided by 12. And that gives you your cost for one bar. At the same time, I want you to track how much time it takes for you to make the entire batch. And that includes the time you spent sourcing out products and placing orders, packaging, all of it. Let's say it takes you 2 hours all in. Next step is for you to do some competitive research, find out what other soap companies in your market are charging, how big their bars are, how yours stacks up as far as packaging and fragrance, etc. And the final step is you will need to assign a value to your time. And I want you to remember that your time is the most valuable asset that you have. Now at the beginning, this is going to be a little bit flexible, but you need to assign a value to your time. So let's do some basic math here. I'm going to use round numbers just for example purposes. Let's say that you calculate that each batch costs $12 to make. That's $1 per bar. And let's also say that when you do your competitive analysis, you find that other soaps in your market are selling for $4 to $5 a bar for the same size. So if you charge $5 a bar, that's $60 in sales for the entire batch, less your hard cost of $12. So right now, at first glance, you are left with $48 of what is called gross margin, okay? If you assign a value for your time of $15 an hour, that's a total of $30. That would leave a profit of $18 before buying more product, investing in your packaging, etc. Now at the beginning, I recommend you not pay yourself at all until your business reaches critical mass where you can pull money out for yourself. This is very exciting, Lisa. Creation is, to me, the most enjoyable part of being in business for yourself. You have the ultimate say in what your product will look like, what it smells like, how much to charge for it, and how much you will get paid. And as you grow, You will learn so many valuable lessons on what to do, what not to do. I wish you all the luck in the world, Lisa, and thanks for the great question. If you have a question or a comment that you would like me to answer on the air, just send an email to info@powermarketing101.com, and maybe I will read your email on the air. Fans of Business Edge Radio, I have a very special treat for you. As you know, I love barbecuing and making up any excuse to get myself outdoors. And that's why I'm so excited to partner with BBQ Nation. They make incredible sauces and rubs and spices and meat shredders and grill scrapers and lots more. And they're offering a deal for our listeners. Check out bbqnation.net. And when you place an order for any of their products, you'll receive a 20% discount off your order when you enter the word EDGE at checkout. Looking for a magnet that lists your cooking temperatures or different types of smoking woods? They got that. Need a heavy-duty set of meat shredders for your pulled pork or shredded chicken sliders? They got that too. Or my favorite is their Magic Dust Everything Rub that will spice up just about any dish. Log on to bbqnation.net. That's bbqnation.net today, and when you enter the code EDGE at checkout, you'll receive a 20% discount just because you hang out with us on the show. BBQ Nation, get your grill on. In today's business world, it's vitally important that you understand what I call the 7 pillars of business success, which are lifestyle design, time management, branding, sales, marketing, pricing, and social media. Regardless of what industry you're in, and whether you have a brick and mortar or are only online, having a solid foundation in these skill sets will set you up for success down the road. And to personally help you with your journey, I've written a book called The Business Basics Bootcamp, the ultimate crash course, now available on Amazon.com and from other fine bookstores. And it will give you a 30,000-foot view on these topics and many more. It'll help you slow down just a little bit so that you can get your business house in order and get your creative juices a-flowing. Log on to Amazon.com today and get your copy of Business Basics Bootcamp, the ultimate crash course. You can search my name, Mitch Graff, or search the title of the book. In a dog-eat-dog world of business success, the weak will perish and the strong will survive. Which will you be?
Time for Cooking Corner with Mitch. Yum.
One of my biggest joys in the morning is when I cook up a couple of fresh eggs with a piece of wheat nut bread. The sound of that sizzle takes me back to when my dad used to make eggs for him and I before anyone else was awake. Those are some great memories. Humans have been consuming eggs since the dawn of human time, about 6 million years ago or so. It's easy to understand why. They're easy to get, are high in protein, adaptable to many different kinds of recipes, and even easier to eat. Records from China and Egypt show that fowl were domesticated and laying eggs for human consumption started around 1400 BC. Before we jump into the recipe, you know what to do. Turn on some good music, get yourself a glass of your favorite beverage, and join me in the kitchen. Today, we're going to be making the absolute best scrambled eggs you have ever had in your life. Now, there's a few key secrets that I'm going to be giving you, so pay attention to the details. First, turn your burner on medium heat and place a non-stick omelet or small frying pan on the burner. While the pan is getting nice and hot, take 3 large eggs and crack them into a bowl. And here's secret number 1. Add 3 tablespoons of half and half to the eggs, along with a pinch of salt and pepper to taste. And beat them with a wire whisk until the mixture is light and foamy. You can also use milk, but trust me when I say that half and half will take these eggs to a new level. Secret number 2. Add 1 tablespoon of real butter, not margarine, to your pan once it's piping hot. As soon as the butter has melted and you've twirled it around so the entire bottom of the pan is covered with the melted butter, pour your egg mixture into the middle of the pan so the eggs can spread out to cover the entire bottom. All right, secret number 3. Got a lot of secrets in this one. You want to use a rubber spatula and continuously be stirring your eggs. It will only take 2 to 3 minutes to cook completely, and you do not want the eggs to burn or stick to the bottom. Once you start to see lumps in your cooked eggs, lower the heat to low and continue to stir, stir, stir. And just before you're ready to pour them onto a plate or into a bowl, here's secret number 4. Add 1 more tablespoon of butter to the pan and let it melt while you continue to stir. If you time it right, your toast will pop up at about the same time as you're pouring out the best ever scrambled eggs you've ever had. In my family, we call this breakfast of champions. Give this one a try and let me know how your eggs turn out. Or better yet, just invite me over for breakfast one day. To complete our double recipes today, we're going to be making homemade graham crackers from scratch. Now, graham flour is a coarse ground whole wheat flour that is commonly used to make graham crackers as well as some breads and cereals. It's named after Sylvester Graham, a forerunner of the American health food movement back in the 1830s. Here's a few fun facts. 1 serving has 11 grams of fiber. The shelf life is up to a month in your pantry and 6 months in the freezer. If you don't have graham flour, you can substitute whole wheat flour. Graham flour is more coarsely ground than standard whole wheat flour, producing a rustic texture and nutty, slightly sweet flavor. Graham crackers, like many cookies, are made with the creaming method. This simply means you cream softened fat, like butter or shortening, in a mixture with sugar until it is pale in color and fluffy. I can tell you right now that you will never want to eat store-bought graham crackers again after making this recipe. So here's what you'll need for this recipe. 2 cups of whole wheat flour, plus more for dusting. You don't want to use stone ground or white whole wheat flour. 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, ½ teaspoon of salt, 7 tablespoons of butter softened, and forget the fact that both recipes today have quite a bit of butter, okay? 1 cup of light brown sugar packed, 3 tablespoons of whole milk, 1/3 cup of honey, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So to make the dough in a medium bowl, whisk the flour, the cinnamon, the baking soda, and the salt, and then set it aside. In a standing mixture, fit with the paddle attachment or with an electric hand mixer, cream your butter and the sugar together. Increase the speed to medium and beat until light and fluffy, which is about 3 minutes. Reduce your speed to low and add the flour mixture until incorporated and a soft dough forms, which is about 2 more minutes. Add the milk, the honey, and the vanilla extract at this point. The dough should be sticky and soft. I give you permission to pull off a hunk of dough and eat it raw. Whenever I try to do it in the kitchen, I get my hands slapped from my wife. Divide the dough into 2 discs and wrap it in plastic and chill it for at least an hour. Then, to roll and bake your dough, adjust the oven rack to the middle position and preheat your oven to 350. Generously flour your counter or a piece of parchment paper and place 1 ball of dough in the center. Pat it into a 5 by 6 inch triangle, sprinkle with a little bit of flour, flip it and dust it again. Working from the center out and adding more flour as needed, roll the dough until roughly it's 11 by 15 inches and very thin. Slide onto an aluminum baking sheet and brush away the excess flour. Repeat this with the remaining dough ball. For grocery store lookalikes, you can score each sheet of dough into 12 2¼ by 4 3/4 inch rectangles and dock it with a bamboo skewer or a narrow end of a chopstick. Otherwise, leave the dough uncut. Bake until the crackers are firm and darkened, which is about 10 or 12 minutes, but make sure you don't overcook it, otherwise they'll be too hard. You want your crackers to have a little bit of give and chewiness to them. Immediately cut along the pre-scored lines with a knife or cut into free-form shapes with a pizza wheel. Cool to room temperature directly on the baking sheets. You can eat these by themselves, use them with s'mores on your back deck, or spread some peanut butter on them and have an afternoon snack. Well, give this one a try and let me know how it turns out. Well, that will do it for this edition of Business Edge Radio. My parting shot today is this. It's a scientific fact that your body will not absorb cholesterol if you take it from another person's plate. Dave Barry. Until next time, this is Mitch Kraft reminding you to live every day like it's a Saturday and to live with passion. I'll catch you later.
Thanks for hanging out with Business Edge Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to subscribe, rate, and review. Then hop on over to www.mitchgraff.com to get even more meat and potatoes. We also invite you to follow the show at facebook.com/Unleashed Tribe. The most valuable asset that any of us has is our time. And we thank you for choosing to spend some of your precious time with us.